Okay, guys, this is a video for all those dads out there. So let's talk Dodge Durangos. First of all, what's with all the guys in the minivans? All the new dads, we gotta boycott the minivan. I just bought a Dodge Durango RT with the 5.7 Hemi. It is by far the best family wagon for a guy ever. I was debating getting the SRT with the bigger engine because, of course, bigger is always better, and we always gotta have more power. I test drove one that was ridiculous. My wife drove it. And you really, at that point, you got big brakes, you've got adjustable suspension, fancy bolstered seats, and then you got to run premium fuel in it all the time. The thing's already a gas guzzler. So if you can swing that, right on. But I wasn't willing to. I thought it's excessive. You're flexing to that point, and supercharger. If you got supercharged one on top of that, money's no object, and hats off to you. But I was a little bit hesitant. Thought, is the RT going to be enough? My wife's got a horse trailer, fairly large horse trailer, 2 or 3 horse, and she wanted something that she could pull that with, so she didn't have to borrow my truck all the time. And she has a Jeep Cherokee 4x4 that is awesome in the winter. So I was almost thinking, let's get something sporty. So I was like, we needed something with a back seat, 4-door. So I was like, let's get a Charger. That'll be your nice summer car. My daughter would fit in the back with the car seat, no problem. And those have a surprising amount of room in the back. But I went with this. I got not talked into, but I kind of talked myself into. I need to do something sensible. The Jeep's getting tired, and so the Durango seemed like the good all-arounder that she can drive in the winter. She can use. We can tow the travel trailer with it. Tow the horse trailer with it. And it's kind of, it looks mean in the front. Well, I've just picked this thing up. I flew to Vancouver to get it. I'm driving it home, and I've been driving probably about almost 7 hours now, and I just love this thing. I mean, you can test drive them and get a sense, but until you actually spend some time in them, you start finding the creaser comforts. And are they the fanciest interiors? No, the one I picked, I ended up going with, I got it used. It's a 2018. In my opinion, they got the best front end, but their dash isn't updated, so they look a little bit plain in the dash area. But now I'm kind of used to it, and it's still got a decent sized screen and a screen there that you can change. But comfortable. They've got, with this 8-speed tranny in this thing, they've got the gearing so right that when someone's doing 80 kilometers an hour in front of you, that when you hammer down, I shouldn't even be saying the speeds that you're doing by the time you're past them, because it is ridiculous. And fuel wise, I mean, I've been hauling, and that says 11.6. I had it down to 11.1 or 2 at one point, but now I just want to get home, and there were some people going slow in front of me, and I just started having fun. So but that's the other thing that people say. All of these car critics, that's their job. They're critics. But if you actually get in one, and the average person, it feels pretty darn nice. They got the black leather seats, you got red stitching, you got fake carbon fiber trim, you got fancy lights. It doesn't come up on the camera, but you know, mood lighting, aluminum pedals. But like, and this thing, it's a truck, okay? It's a truck engine. So yeah, it's not gonna get, you know, 27 miles to the gallon. Like, of course not. I haven't done the conversion, but to have something that makes almost 400 horsepower and gets this good a mileage, like you leave it in, you don't even really realize it when it's in eco mode. It doesn't say anything or tell you. It just all of a sudden gets really quiet when you're kind of just, you know, idling along. And then when you need to get out past somebody, you stomp on it, all of a sudden the thing revs up and takes off. And it's got sport mode, which is even crazier. It's rear wheel drive bias, so it feels like a Charger. Like that, honestly, that's what it feels like. It feels like a, you know, other than you're sitting up a little higher, it drives like a cushy, what you think a Charger would feel like. Kind of a, it's not a sports car, but like a good handling muscle car. This is how it handles. It's rear wheel drive bias. It's got the front wheels that are helping you around the corner. I had to go through a little bit of snow at one point. This thing doesn't have very good tires on it, but it did fine. But no, it's not a Subaru. It's a truck, and a sporty one at that. It's got Mercedes. Like, if you don't know, but these Chrysler and Mercedes, when these things were designed, they use the parts bin, Mercedes parts bin, for the suspension underneath these things, and the steering, and like this. I've had a 2015 Jaguar F-Type, and this thing handles almost as good as that, believe it or not. It's just cushy enough. How do I put it? This is the RT. So there's a Citadel that's the more cushy version. The RT is just firm enough that feels, you know, it feels premium. It doesn't feel, but it's not uncomfortable. It's a little on the stiff side for maybe some people, but for it, to me, it's worth it for the, you know, just feeling planted on the road. You can turn traction control completely off. It's got a sport mode. You actually feel a difference when you put it in sport mode. The RT, I don't know if it actually adjusts suspension or not. I haven't even really tried it, but like the SRT, you can definitely tell when you put it in race mode. But it's so stiff. Who's gonna actually use that? It is so stiff. No one's gonna. You can't drive on the road with it that stiff. And you know, like, let's be honest. No one's taking these things to track days. Okay, they're for hauling the kids to school. And if you want something that, other than a minivan, that's just like makes you want to blow your brains out, get one of these. They're, yeah, I am amazed. And now I see why I see so many on the road, because like they're just, you got a nice big bulge in the hood. You got hood scoops, functional hood vents. You know, this one's got a K&N intake, and the only thing I can say is, actually, even the stock exhaust is pretty, like, I went through some tunnels, rolled the window down. They're so insulated inside, you think, oh, it's not really that, you know, that loud. You roll the windows down, and it's actually, for stock exhaust, it sounds pretty good. But of course, I can't leave anything alone, so I'm gonna probably put a set of MagnaFlows on this thing or something. But yeah, it is. I am blown away. I was a little bit like, is it what I think it's gonna be? And no, I'm more than happy. The only thing I wish is the back end was a little bit more. The front ends of these look really, really good. The back ends look very van-like, but other than that, put a nice set of wheels on. I might, with this RT, it's black on black with red stitching. I'm gonna put the red stripes on it. and maybe the SRT wheels, and no one's gonna know the difference. Everybody looks at the thing, is that the SRT? And that's, I mean, hats off to Dodge again. That's kind of the, I actually feel bad for the guys that pay all the extra money for the SRTs, because us guys with the RTs and even some of the guys with the GT V6s, they got the SRT hood and front bumper, and they all start looking the same. But I mean, hats off to them. You can have what you want and not having to pay crazy money. But yeah, I say, like, Ford's got their Ford Explorer, they got their ST. You know, I think their ST is quicker with the EcoBoost, but you can't tow as much with it. It sounds like a vacuum cleaner, and there's not any used ones yet, like, that are a decent price. And in my opinion, it doesn't, you know, it looks okay, looks good, but it doesn't look as good as a Durango. I guess it's whatever you're into, but yeah, I wish Ford had you could get their Ford Explorer with the 4.6 for a while, and I wish they didn't go away from that. Put a Coyote in something. Even the Ford Excursion, or not, Expedition now's got an EcoBoost in it. That's it. So yeah, it's the exhaust note. The fact this thing has a V8 in it still, just right there, is just the cherry on top. I'm sad they're not making these anymore. I hope whatever they come up with next, they keep the same recipe, because I'm excited for my wife to drive it. I almost want her to keep my truck, and I'll drive this to work. But yeah, I'm a Ford guy, but Dodge, you did something right with this one. Signing off. The other thing is, don't spend more for the Harman Kardon sound system. The stock one is amazing. I'd play something for you. Well, it wouldn't come off great anyways on the phone speakers, plus it'd get copyrighted. But trust me, if you want bass, you turn that bass all the way up, and I swear there's a 12-inch, or not 12, a 10-inch subwoofer somewhere in this thing. I can't find it, but it's somewhere. And I know this thing doesn't have Harman Kardon's, it doesn't say Harman Kardon anywhere, so I don't think this one was optioned with that. But if it said Harman Kardon, I'd believe it. Put it that way. And I'd believe there's a subwoofer somewhere hidden in here. What else can I say about this thing? I want to just talk this thing up. But the rear taillights.
New text message from Celeste.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's got plenty of tech in this thing. Android Auto. This is a 2018. It's got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It's got this thing here that you can put big gauge. This is my speed. You can put digital. I've got my liters per 100 kilometers. It's kind of like a video game. You can try and get your mileage better, but there's all kinds of stuff in here that you can make it. You know, it can tell your tranny temp, your oil temp, your all kinds of things. I gotta play with this still. There's all kinds of apps, and I even saw something about I have no idea, games, and you know, we got heated seats, cooled seats. Got a sunroof. There's all kinds of, like, just really subtle accent lighting that, you know, they didn't have to do, but they did it. Even I didn't even include this till it got dark when I was driving home, but like my Timmy's cup is, you know, lit up. There's a little tiny light up here, and it lights up your Timmy's cup, or like your cup holders, even though there's rings around your cup holders. But, you know, just little things like that, so you can actually see what's, you know, where your drink is. I wanted originally to have the captain's chairs in the back. I didn't buy this new, so I wasn't able to option it how I wanted. But this one, it's got the bench in the back, and now I'm kind of seeing it. I mean, it's got armrests and cup holders that flip down. My daughter's pretty, she's in a car seat right now, but I can see when she's older, it's going to be nice for her to have a flat spot to, kids like to lay down and sleep, or color, or whatever they do. Where you can't really do that with the captain's chairs. So I think this will be fine. The back, the third row, I don't really see us using, other than it's a lot more extra space than the Grand Cherokee. Originally we were looking at the Grand Cherokee, which I think is a decent looking vehicle, and from what I can tell, these two are kind of based on each other. But you do lose that back, even though we didn't need that third row. The Grand Cherokee doesn't have as much space in the back because it's shorter. So we're not even going to use our third row, but we have all that extra space now for, my wife can put the dog and the stroller back there, where I don't know if she could have done that with the Grand Cherokee. So that's one thing. Another thing that the sales guys don't seem to know, so we put our daughter in the car seat, and she's facing backwards still. We put her in our little Cherokee. She had, it's an old 2001 Cherokee. She had to go in the middle because she couldn't fit on either side. So she had to go in the middle because her car seat would kind of protrude between the two front seats. And my truck's an extended cabin. It's kind of the same way. So we went and looked at a Grand Cherokee, a new one, or a newer one. And because my wife's getting tired of climbing in every time to buckle her in, and it was no better. So we were like, what? So then, and I knew you could get a 5.7 in the Grand Cherokee, and my wife really wanted a V8 as well, so I was a little bit disappointed about that. So then the sales guy's like, well, have you tried a Durango? So that kind of got us looking at Durangos, and she fit in the Durango. But we found out later, the Grand Cherokee and the Durango, the seats recline, the rear seats recline. So if the sales guys don't know, or not all, I'm sure some do, our sales guy didn't know that. So she actually does fit in a Grand Cherokee behind, the driver in the passenger seat. You just have to recline the seat. Actually, in the Grand Cherokee, it reclines, I think, a little bit more than it does in the Durango, because they don't have rear seats to worry about. But that gives you a little bit more room for car seats, just so you guys know. A little tip there. But I do like how this Durango kind of mean mugs everybody with the front end. I think it just feels a little bit more special, and I like that. I almost am kind of starting to like the fact that it looks kind of unassuming from the back until you step on it, and then everybody behind you hears the V8. I think that's kind of cool. I can't wait to put a set of MagnaFlows on this thing, because when it goes into the the Eco 4-cylinder mode, the thing gets so quiet, it'll just, you won't even notice, and then you'll tromp on her, and the whole, wake up the whole neighborhood. Cold start on this thing, even with the stock exhaust, sounds pretty awesome. So I can't wait to something a little more aggressive. But yeah, mileage wise, you hear these people critique, complaining about it. Well, they're comparing it to, 200 horsepower V6s and 4-cylinders in diesel 4-cylinders and stuff like that. Like, it's not even comparable. I think the V6 in these, like the Pentastar, it's got plenty of power. Everybody knows who's driven a Caravan. Like, they actually surprise you, but they just sound like, my wife drove one, the Grand Cherokee we drove had a Pentastar in it, and both of us looked at each other as we're kind of like pulling up an on-ramp, and it did not do it for us. It sounds like a minivan. Even though it's got enough power, it just doesn't do it. And this thing might not get as good a mileage in the city, around town, but they get the same as the Pentastar on the highway. So I don't know. I think the difference that you're gaining with the Pentastar is not worth it. Just for this thing just feels more special, and it gets out of its own way when you need it to. So yeah, we gotta have an intervention for all these guys, poor guys, selling their souls for these stinking minivans. Like, why? There's other options, but you do. I get they're convenient and the sliding doors but like, I guess if you just don't care, I just bless my wife's heart. She's kind of on the same page as me. She wants something sporty, and she tends to take my she listens to me and what I think, and take that into consideration. And I know she likes driving my truck, and this is probably the best between feeling like a truck or sounding like a truck. Kind of feels like a truck, I guess, because you're sitting up higher. Got a long, the hood on these things, like it's a big, big hood. So that maybe is a little bit, the visibility. I don't know. It's got a big windshield. Visibility is pretty good, but if a wife's not used to a long hood, like, because these things are rear-wheel drive bias, they're not front-wheel drive bias like a Ford Explorer with a, that's why they got the short little hood on the Ford Explorer or a lot of other things. The engine's in the right way. It's in like a truck. It goes straight to the rear axle, and then it somehow transfers to the front. I haven't really looked. It's got a transfer case, low range.
New text message from Celeste.
I don't know who's using low range in these things. They're not off-roaders.
New text message from Celeste.
The only other thing I can say is, the wheels on these
New text message from Celeste
are pretty meh. This one I like. They're kind of got a black, what do you call it, a black chrome. Like, they're not shiny and they're not black. They're kind of in between. I like that.
New text message from Celeste.
They kind of look pedestrian, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they look like they should be on a Caravan, even though they're 20s. But put some SRT wheels on, and they just it wakes these things up. So a set of wheels, and honestly, that's all it needs. A set of wheels. Change the wheels, and if you want, do an exhaust. But it sounds plenty good for your average person. If you're a bit of a show off, you probably want an exhaust on it and some wheels. But yeah, I think that's about it. I just started thinking of some other things I was going to say, but I'm gonna focus on driving here because we're getting back into a snowstorm, and I wish this thing came with winter tires, but it didn't. We got brand new all season, so I'm gonna focus on driving, and I'm signing off.